I'd like to talk to you today about why I do what I do. This year has been a really difficult one for me on many levels, emotionally, physically, and many other ways. Keeping my eyes on my God and the vision that He's given me is what gets me through no matter what I'm feeling. If you check out some of my earlier posts this week on Facebook, you'll see what I'm talking about. But I want to give you a little hint of what that vision, why it's so strong for me. See, I believe that there's a myth in Christianity today. And I believe that that myth is part of why so many Christians feel so disheartened about the election. The myth is that government and society and culture are tearing apart the family. But I want to submit to you that I think just the opposite is true. See, God didn't design government and society and culture to be the model for the family, but He did design for the family to be the model for government, society, and culture. You know, the church is the body of Christ. It's like the hand of God touching the world. It's the way He reaches out. The way He's alive in the world today is through His church. But see, the family is the body of Christ, the church, on the cellular level. You know that when cancer strikes, it always strikes on the cellular level. And oftentimes, cancer has no visible effect until it's too late. The church, and by extension the world, can never be really healthy if the family isn't healthy. Now, I believe that if we spent half of the time and energy that we spend complaining about social and government issues and instead spent it on building strong families, I believe that in a couple of generations we could have an incredible influence on government, society, and culture than any election ever could. But I want to be completely honest with you. See, I don't believe there's any hope for my generation. And honestly, I don't believe there's any hope for my children's generation. My children, by the way, are all grown and have families. But I do believe that there's hope for my grandchildren's generation. Now let me explain to you why. I'll make an admission to you, confession to you. I love to play blackjack, and I'm really good at it. And in fact, I hardly ever lose. I don't go to Vegas and play, but I play on the computer, not real. I don't spend real money, but I'm really good at it. And there's one method. I know all different kinds of methods, from counting cards to all different things, but there's one method that's been used by a lot of people. It's difficult and it works, but it has flaws. And it's the doubling down method. And what that means is that if I bet $1 on a hand and I lose it, then the next hand I'm going to bet $2. And if I lose that, then the next hand I'm going to bet $4. And if I lose that, the next hand I'm going to bet $8. And I keep doing that until finally, if I win the hand that I win back everything that I had lost before plus more. Now, it works really well, but there's some flaws to that. You not only have to do that, but you have to be good at playing. You see, if you lose like 10 hands in a row, you could easily go from $1 to literally betting millions of dollars and losing it and completely go bankrupt. Now, I very rarely ever lose 10 hands in a row, but it happens, and you never know. And it is a gamble, and it is a bet. But when you do that, you could win, but you also lose really big. You have to be able to make it through all those losses till you finally win. Now, here's what I think we've done in our world and in our culture. My grandparents, in their generation, divorce was a rare thing, and families were loyal and committed to each other through thick or thin, through all the things they did. And one of the reasons is because, you know, in their time, they had to work so hard, and survival is so much in play. We didn't have all the free time and the pleasures that we have in our world today, that they really didn't have a choice. Family was everything. Family was your world. And you passed on from one generation to the next the values and the belief systems. But in my grandparents' generation began, I think, this process of doubling down. And really maybe even in their parents' generation, but let's just take these last few generations. See, they decided that they didn't want for their children to have to go through all the hard work and everything that they did. And so for the first time, my grandparents invested in my parents' generation to say they want them to go to school and have a better job and have a better life and not have to work so hard. So that in my parents' generation, for the first time, while they still had to work hard, they had a better life and they had a little bit more leisure time. And then in the next generation, as they invested in my life and in my generation, we had it almost none of the hardships and hard work and things that my grandparents' generation had. We were able to go to school. We were able to make choices. We were able to look ahead at our life and have things, but we also had pleasure and things that could distract us. And because so much time was invested in and given us that new life, little time was invested in our moral character and the values that used to be just come with the territory of passing on from one generation to the next. And then as I raised my children, really it was we raised the stakes higher and higher, because my children had from the start technology and so much, and didn't have to think about so many things that now we have that entitlement mindset that we see in this next generation. And so each generation we've doubled down, and it hasn't worked. Each generation has gotten further out of touch with the values and the morality, and each generation we blame it on government and society and culture, and each generation we get further away from even knowing what those values and that character God's design even is. And then we send our kids out there and let the world influence them with that, because it's gotten further away from that being done by God's design in and through the family. And, you know, honestly, even the church has gone right along with that, because the average church that I know doesn't bring the family together. It actually tears them apart. There's little time left when you're active and involved in the average church. There's little time left for family. The family's separated into different divisions of ministries and things like that, and there's not much help and really training given to parents to how to invest the way my grandparents did and my parents and their parents did and their parents. And so what's happening is generation after generation, we've doubled down and we've lost more and more and more. Well, here's where I think we are. And we've seen it in this election. We're all in. We are all in. If we lose this bet, we're bankrupt. I don't think we've got any more. And so I'm passionate to get the church back to investing in families, to invest in fathers, to be the leader and the protector and the one who is primarily responsible for teaching and educating and training his children along with his wife, that mother. And so the ministry that I have, True Hope Ministries, is passionate to return the center to the family. That's God's design. Everything I do and everything that I believe is based on this one concept. God designed the universe to work in a certain way. When you do it that way, it works. When you don't do it that way, it doesn't work. And we have gotten further and further and further away from that design. And so my appeal to you is, I'm just asking now that you consider these things and that you'll pray for me in this ministry, and that you can help me to invest and think about how we complain about government and the election society, but really it's all about we need to raise up a generation of children who know God's values once again, who know those principles. And that comes from no other place than the family. That's where it was designed to happen. And we've turned it over to the church, to the schools, to the society, and to culture, and we can have this influence. Forgive me for being so emotional, but I truly believe that we're all in. And there is hope for my grandchildren's generation and for your grandchildren's generation. And so I just, will you pray for me? And God's brought me through the trial this year to reaffirm and reconnect in me this passion that I've had for so long in my life. And I'm committed through the pain, through the struggles, through whatever I have to face. We don't have a choice. We have got to make this happen. Thank you, and God bless.